Hey everyone, so today I want to talk to you about making sure your parents are looked after once they've signed up to your business. Now, I know that sounds pretty obvious, but the reality is that what often happens is we spend so much time trying to get that parent on board or trying to get them to sign up in the first place. But then what if that parent isn't signing or starting for a few months in your childcare business? How do you make sure that that parent is onboarded and that child is onboarded correctly? Let's face this, as an industry, we spend a lot of time making sure that the child settles in well and they're happy and obviously they work with their key work, etc. But have you actually reviewed the amount of time and effort you spend looking after the parent and nurturing that relationship? So the whole onboarding process for your parents and carers. Tip number one is to actually start to think about mapping out an onboarding process. Because let's face this, there are all those different steps. If you were to write down every single step that you would ideally want that parent or carer to go through, there are multiple steps. But how can you ensure that every single one of those happens? So I want to encourage you to take the time to map out with your team what is the ideal customer journey that you would want your parents and carers to go through once they've signed up in your facility. It might be a phone call at the end of the first week. It might be a face-to-face meeting at the end of the first month. But I encourage you to make sure you map that out. Tip number two is make sure you make that parent or carer feel loved, okay? Make them feel special, because generally when someone makes a big investment, whatever the investment is, and I know people don't like to look at this as sales, but the reality is that you are making a sale. You're getting someone to invest in your business, but most importantly, they're investing in their future education and the care of their child. What often happens is when someone makes a big investment, they go through what's called buyer's remorse. So if you're buying a new car, for example, you buy the car, you've got all that excitement, but what often tends to happen is after you've got that excitement, buyer's remorse kicks in, where you're in the state of, oh my gosh, should I have done that? It's a lot of money, have I made the right decision, etc. We're now talking about the quality and the care and the safeguarding of your child. But the reality is that buyer's remorse is even greater now. It's amplified, 100, because you're talking about the care of your child. You don't want that parent to think about, well, they've taken my money, my child started, they settled, but now actually I don't hear from them at all. So really start to think about how you're making that parent or that carer feel loved. And tip number three I want to talk to you about is make sure you get feedback from the parent or the carer. This is really, really important, okay? One of the things we found when we started to do this in our childcare business was there were often questions that the parents or the carers had that they didn't feel that they had got answered during those first few weeks. We would often do a call at the end of week one. How is everything going? Do you have any particular questions? And some of them would have questions around invoicing. Now, even though we thought we'd given them all the information, everything was clear, parents still had questions around that. And often what would happen is they wouldn't necessarily come out and ask that question openly because they didn't want to be embarrassed, thinking they'd asked the wrong information, or maybe the manager or the director would say, well, I've already given you that information. So it's really important to make sure you take the time to ask the parent or the carer for feedback around how is everything going. So when we talked about tip one about mapping out the process, start to think about if you're going to make a call at the end of week one, what things are you going to ask them? What topics are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about invoicing? Do you have any questions around invoicing? Do you have any questions around settles? Do you have any questions around how your child transitions, etc.? Make sure you map these things out and make sure you always ask that parent or carer for feedback, because I promise you they will highlight questions that you never even thought were a potential issue. So guys, if these videos are helpful for your childcare business, we want to make sure we keep sharing lots and lots of ideas, lots and lots of content and strategies to help you grow your childcare business. So make sure you like this video, hit the subscribe button, and we'll be sure to notify you every single time we release a brand new video to help your childcare business grow.